Today we're very lucky and happy to have an outstanding speaker today and an outstanding topic for this day of the Feast of the Holy Innocents, the feast that commemorates the slaughter of the infants in the time of Jesus, the first martyrs in the church. And so we can pray to them as great saints that they are, and the topic today has to do with that in a way. It has to do with China and the hegemon, China's plan to dominate Asia and the world. Now, the speaker today is Stephen Mosher. He was born in Scotia, California in 1948 and enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 1968, obtained a B.S. and M.S. in biological oceanography from the University of Washington under a U.S. Navy sponsorship. After his active military duty was over, he received 2 more Masters of Arts degrees from Stanford University. The first was in East Asia Studies with emphasis on China in 1977, and the second was in Cultural Anthropology in 1978. While working on the PhD at Stanford, Stephen discovered the effects of the Chinese government's one-child-per-family policy. Stephen became active in the pro-life area, and he was the director of the Asian Studies Center of the Claremont Institute for the Study of Statesmanship and Political Philosophy from 1986 to 1995. He served also as Commissioner of the United States Commission on Broadcasting to the People's Republic of China from 1991 to 1992. He was Vice President for International Affairs for Programs at the Human Life International from 1996 to 1998 and was is President of the Population Research Institute from 1995 to the present. He and his wife and 9 children live in Front Royal, Virginia, and attend Sacred Heart Parish there. He has published numerous books, which one of them is called Hegemon, China's Plan to Dominate Asia and the World. Came out in 2000, so that's the topic of today's talk. So obviously it's now 5 years later, and there'll be more things to update over that book. And so without further ado, I want to bring Steve Mosher here and have him give us a talk to Casey. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Well, I have one thing to show you at the beginning. And Andrew, could you give everybody a copy of this, just so they have the picture in front of them? Is this water?
That's water for you.
Thank you. And you'll all recognize this, being good Catholics, as a picture of Our Lady. We need one more up here. And not just any picture of Our Lady. This is a picture of Our Lady sitting on the dragon throne, holding the infant Jesus, and wearing the gown of a Manchu princess of the highest rank. The Manchus, of course, ruled China during the Qing dynasty from 1644 to 1911. And this is how they dressed. And you'll notice that her gown is embroidered with the dragon, which is the symbol of China. In fact, one might say that she's seated on the dragon. But we'll come back to that picture in a minute. Let me point out now that the artist who drew this picture was originally not a Catholic, not a Christian of any kind. He was from Macau, but he felt inspired to paint a portrait of Our Lady and her son. And by the time he finished the picture, he had become a Catholic. You see, you can't spend a lot of time with Our Lady without being drawn into her embrace and the embrace of her church. Now, I got in all kinds of trouble in China. You see, you have to know that I'm an international spy. See, if you went to Beijing today and met with the Minister of State Security and asked him about Stephen Mosher, he would say, well, we know he's a spy. We knew he was a spy back in 1979 when Stanford University sent him to our country. Why am I a spy? I'm a spy because I was there at the very beginning of the one-child policy. Now, I had free reign in the village. This was 1979 and 1980. As the first American social scientist allowed in China. Now, the Chinese government initially wanted nothing to do with my research. I mean, their worst nightmare would be a Chinese-speaking social scientist wandering about the countryside unescorted, talking freely with ordinary people about their life under communism. See, the Communist Party didn't want me there because they knew what the people would say. Unlike some of my colleagues at Stanford University who are enamored of the Maoist revolution, the people in China had no illusions. Their illusions had long since been dispelled by the great butcher of Beijing, Mao Zedong. So the Chinese said, no, we can't welcome this this American social scientist. We want your engineers, we want your physicists especially, we want your chemical engineers. We'll welcome those people as participants in the scholarly exchange program, but no social scientists. And it was only after, I don't even know former President Jimmy Carter, nor do I really have much desire to know him, but I am indebted to him for this. My name was on a list of agenda items prepared for a meeting that he had with China's former Vice Premier Deng Xiaoping, who effectively ruled China from shortly after Mao's death until his own death in the mid-90s. And Carter got to my name and said, you know, we have this American social scientist who'd like to do research in China. And Deng Xiaoping, eager to get on with it, and a man of few words, said, well, that'll be no problem. Meo Wen Ti in Chinese. And so I was in. I was in with the permission of Deng Xiaoping himself. And so all doors were open to me. What lower-level communist official would dare say, you can't come to the meeting of the local militia, or you can't attend this meeting of the local party branch, or you can't be present when women are being forcibly aborted? What Communist Party official would dare interfere with my research after I had been given permission from on high, from the man himself, Deng Xiaoping? So I was there when the one-child policy began. I was there when women were arrested for the crime of being pregnant. I was there when they were aborted, up to 9 months. I was there when women when babies were killed at birth. So all of these evils, I'm an eyewitness to. Now in China, that makes you a spy, you see, because I came out of China and began writing about what I had seen, and I got a negative reaction from two places. I got a negative reaction from Beijing, which didn't surprise me, because after all, I was showing the dark underside of communist rule. I got a negative reaction from my colleagues at Stanford University who said, you know, China, after all, has a population problem. What else are they to do? What else are they to do? You mean, you think it's justified to abort women at 9 months because of a so-called overpopulation problem? And the answer was yes. I mean, Stanford University is, after all, the home of Paul Ehrlich, the population bomber himself. I had one fellow say to me, who actually on my dissertation committee, say to me, well, as reprehensible as I think forced abortions in the third trimester of pregnancy are, it's no worse than the Reagan administration denying federal funding to poor women who need abortions. So we're equating here, you've heard of moral equivalence. This is a good example of it, because we're equating here the forced abortion of a woman carrying a wanted child past the point of viability of that child, past the point at which that child is capable of surviving outside the womb, equating that great crime against humanity, the taking of a human life and the wounding, the grievous wounding of the mother, with the principled refusal of a pro-life administration to use your tax dollars and mine to pay for abortions. Anyway, he resigned from my committee. I was, by that time, happy to see him go.